Right, here we go then, so let's have a look at some of these coins. I'm not a financial advisor, it's not financial advice, obviously, so we'll start with Bitcoin. So, like we've been watching this last week, really, Bitcoin is consolidating still and it's making its way back down, and will, in my books, definitely is going to touch this area now, 9,200, and when it touches that, it's going to break that and go back down to 9,000 and then below it. The next significant supports now are really this area here. We're kind of, I'll tell you why we're extremely weak right now, is that we're underneath all moving averages now, underneath all of them, every single one of them. We found a significant rejection, and this big fat green one here is the 50 EMA. That is pretty hardcore rejection that we saw there. These candles, they're as big as they can be. They're suffering. They're not making any moves. They're not able to break this area. We've got too many moving averages above us that are all sloping down, which are all in their own ways serving as a resistance. The only thing we've got now as a support is this 9,200 area to 9,000. But as we've already tested those here, and we did find pretty strong bounces from them, it shows to us that, to be honest with you, if we can't bounce from it there with moves like this, we're not going to bounce from it here. We'll probably find significant moves up from here, but not as strong as this. We are on the 4-hourly chart here, the daily chart is going to look very similar to that. So we move to the daily, we're underneath all moving averages, all but one, being the 50-day simple, is facing down basically. Again, not a good sign, as we are underneath all of them, all of these again being resistances, and the only supports we've got now are our previous support levels that we had, would be in the 9,200 to 9,000, and then if that breaks, which I'm pretty sure it is going to break, we're going to find ourselves down, all the way back down here, 8,500 probably. But it's not such a bad thing. Bitcoin shouldn't have grown this fast, this quick, this early on in the game. This is the start of a cycle, a 3-year bull trend. We can't have moves like this for 3 years. It would just sap all the money out of the world in order for it to carry on at that pace. It's just impossible. Now, when this cycle started, and back in April, when it really kicked in, should I say, in April. I mean, it did start before then, but when it really kicked in April, that basically saw so much more investment being poured into here. Week after week, month after month, more and more money. Snowball effect, creating essentially a parabolic top of its own. That is basically what's happened. This you could call this now a parabolic move. When you look at basically where it's come from and the time that it took to get there, that is an enormous move. So it has to come back down, and I would expect it to come down to 850, 8,500 that would be. If not, maybe more. To be honest with you, it wouldn't be unheard of for a parabolic move to have 50% of its value taken away or more. But as it's Bitcoin, there might be exceptions to the rule. But we'll see how it goes. So we'll move on to some of these other coins then. So Matic, another coin that had a huge parabolic move and has been correcting ever since. And when we see a correction take place like this, which is normal, it's definitely normal, we're looking very similar to a Bitcoin scenario, apart from it's definitely lost more. We're looking at losing more, probably around 75% now of its all-time high, which is still very normal. You look at all the coins for the end of the last bull run, so we're talking the January 2018. Look at where they ended up recently, just at the beginning of this year. We're talking 85, 90, and in some cases as much as 98% retracement in their all-time high. So it is normal, especially in cryptocurrency. It's certainly normal for that to happen, and this is playing out on Matic as we see now. So yeah, big move. This is a very condensed when you look at those other coins, where I speak about the examples of other cryptocurrencies at the end of the last bull trend. I mean, that was the market in general that went parabolic. This is a coin specifically that went parabolic with no real reason other than the expectation of its of its. Well, I mean, it's got good prospects, you know, in the long term, but it was definitely overpumped. That's what parabolic tops are. Overpumped stocks, overpumped coins. So this was overpumped, but now we really are leveling out now. We're looking at the Bitcoin pairing here, and actually finding, you know, sort of coming back every time to test this 114, 113 area, where we have bounced a couple of times now. This bounce isn't as strong as that one, but you know, the proof will be in the pudding if it comes back down to test it once again. If it bounces another time, it might suggest that this one is perhaps a bottom, but we are in a bit of a downward trend with the rest of the market. So the market does dictate where all the coins seem to be going, unless there's something special coming out, news-wise, technology-wise, you know, partnership-wise, that will change the game. At the moment, Matic is it's going to probably be like this for a little while longer. I don't expect to see any big moves out of this coin really, but what I'm keeping my eye on is this Satoshi level, 113 to 14 Satoshis. See how often that gets tested and what reaction it has as a result. We're slowing down now in our moves. Our Bollinger Bands are getting tighter, so it would suggest a break out of this trend one way or another, but I couldn't tell you which way it'll go, to be honest with you. If I was to put my life on the line, I'd say we'll probably test this again, and when Bitcoin falls, we'll probably fall with it. Wouldn't surprise me if we get as low as 100 Satoshis or less until the market decides to pick itself back up. At the moment, there's no signs of that is going to happen. Right, so we're going to have a look at the tether value. So tether is much in the same, a little worse off actually. We're making lower lows with Matic, as low as 1.11 cents. So yeah, it does actually look quite sorry for itself on the tether pairing. So there's not a great deal to say about it. Again, market is down in general. So we'll look at Celr now, and Celr is much the same as Matic as well. We look at the tether pairing; it's pretty weak. Definitely, I would say, looking to make newer lows, which is a real shame because it did look like it was showing some kind of strength here of recovery. So I think when it does bottom out, it will. Oh God! When it does eventually bottom out, it will actually make some other moves. But right now, it's not capable of doing that. And we look at the Satoshi value it's a little better, so it does show some form of recovery in a way. What it's really showing now is that the Bitcoin is becoming weaker than some of these alts ever so slightly, this one included. So when Bitcoin falls, and it will fall, we really have to look at how fast these other guys fall, and the best way to do that is to match them with the Satoshi values. If the 24-hour Satoshi value is, you know, decreasing at a lower rate, then it might suggest that these coins will be shortly bottoming out and probably find a route to recovery sooner than Bitcoin. But that's just a theory, really. That's how I'll be looking at these. Harmony 1, again, pretty much exactly the same. A very small trading range with Harmony 1. Not really going neither here nor there on the Satoshi values. Ever so small and ever so slightly making higher highs here. RSI looks okay, but it is beginning to slope down now, and when this fall comes, this won't be able to escape the fall. But again, check the Satoshi values alongside the Bitcoin and see how it moves in relation to that fall. Tether's really bad. So again, it's not great. It's not good. It's not a place to invest right now in any of these things until Bitcoin has fallen and made its low. And even then, you know, we've got to wait and see how these other coins react to it. BitTorrent token, one of the biggest disappointments in recent times, because we were doing so well around this area. When Bitcoin was all over the place, we were showing relative strength, but then obviously the death cross took place. Like the death cross has taken place on pretty much every coin, and that has basically started a cascade down. It's finding its levels around here, around we call it 800 or 0.008 of a cent. 0.0008. So yeah, it's not looking very good at all, to be honest with you. It probably will fall further when Bitcoin falls, because it is mimicking Bitcoin's moves. But the Satoshi values, again, the Satoshis are going sideways because it's on such a low Satoshi volume. We're averaging around 9, to be honest with you. That's where we're averaging, but we have a bit of about a 4 Satoshi range, as low as 8 and as high as 11, I suppose you could say. Unlikely to get higher than 11 anytime soon, but when Bitcoin falls, we'll see if the tether value of BitTorrent token is damaged as much, and see where the Satoshis lie. Elrond, so yeah, not a coin for me, I'm afraid, but I know some people are interested in it. I mean, look at the range is ever so small, but again, that is because we're only on 35 Satoshis, really, so these Satoshis don't like to move a great deal when they get this low. But they are moving, and they are moving actually generally, I'd probably say, a bit more to the bearish side. And there's a chance that it could make sort of a high of, we could call it 38. There's a chance, a very small chance, you could get up to 38 Satoshis again. I think it's got a lot further to go before it makes that. It's a new coin, so it's very difficult to map this one out, but the way it's going right now, and the way the market's going right now, I think we're going to be losing more Satoshis, probably find our way down to 30. Yeah, I think 30 could perhaps maybe be our next support on the Satoshi value. And with Tether, again, pretty sorry looking coin, worse off than all the other IEOs, still making lower lows. The lower lows are taking place at the moment, so this one will probably be one of the hardest hit of the IEOs, so stay away from this one, and definitely stay away from this one for the moment. The most promising ones are probably Matic. I'd probably say Matic looks to be the strongest of all, even though it doesn't look very strong at all. Anyway, I hope that was useful to you, and sorry I didn't make a video yesterday. It gets very busy for me sometimes, and I hope you all have a nice day anyway, and take it easy, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.